It's me, Robin from Half-Firm Paranormal, and Talking with the Source. Unfortunately, AJ can't be here at the minute. He may pop in through the show, but you're stuck with me. Also, we have a guest host coming in for half an hour or so. The one and only, the paranormal consultant, Matt Barron, will be joining us in just a second. And we also have a fantastic show for you tonight. We have a guy who you will know from the UK's TV program Most Haunted. He was a medium up until recently on the program. He obviously still is a medium. He was on the program for a while. He was a very, very good addition to the program. And he is a very, very good medium and well-known, well-renowned as well. And he has come on Talking with the Source tonight to inform us, obviously, of what he's done in the past, let us know a little bit about himself and whatever, and maybe if he's doing anything in the future. But in the meantime, we will just see. He was having a bit of trouble logging in, so we'll just see if he is on. And there's Anthony. How we doing, brother? How are you? And just see. And here he is. Please welcome, everybody, Chris Conway. Hello, Chris.
Hi, Robin. Oh, sorry. A bad start.
So,
hi, Robin. Pleased to be here and to have a chat have a chat with you.
Yeah. I was just basically telling everybody they're going to practically know you from Most Haunted, really, aren't they?
Yeah, hopefully. if I've watched the show, then yeah, hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, it was a good show. Obviously, there was had certain mediums on at certain times, and I mean, as far as I was concerned, you were always bang on with everything that you got and stuff. So, you were one of the better ones on there, in my opinion, anyway.
Thank you, Robin. That means a lot to me.
No, definitely. But do you want to start by telling everybody how you first, the normal question, how you first got into the paranormal?
Yeah, of course. I've been in the.
I'll relocate.
I've been communicating. Sorry. No, I've been communicating with
while you're doing that.
Okay, I've been communicating with spirit since I was about 7 years of age, and it first became known that I had that gift when I lived in just a council estate in Glasgow, and my parents, they heard me chatting away to someone in the bedroom. They came through to see who I was talking to, and they weren't very happy that I brought someone in without asking them. So what they did is they came through to try and get me into trouble, and there was this strange little boy. There was this strange little boy talking to what they thought was nothing. I was looking into the corner, and I was having this conversation. So my dad, he wasn't being totally serious. He was asking who I was talking to, and I told him that I was talking to this old lady and an old man. And I said that the old man speaks to me, but the old lady just stands and smiles. So my dad asked, well, who is the old man? And apparently I gave him this weird name, and I don't know what the name was now. And he just kept going on. He was just winding me up. And probably about a week later, apparently, he was in a neighbour's house, and he was telling her about Chris having invisible friends. And he says, Chris being Chris, that's quite a weird child probably, they're old age pensioners. So they're all having a chuckle at this until he mentioned the name. And apparently when he mentioned the name, the old lady's jaw hit the ground, because it wasn't the name of the old man that lived in our house before us. It was his nickname.
All right.
And the description that I gave of the lady was spot on. And apparently that's what she used to do. She would never speak. She would just stand beside him as he rabbited on. So from there, they knew that there was something a bit strange about their son. And I was quite lucky because it was taken away from being an invisible friend to suddenly they were thinking, right, okay, this is a bit weird. Has he got some sort of gift? And because of that, it helped me develop it, because I think what happens in society, they convince children that it's an invisible friend that they're speaking to. And then what happens is you lose the ability. So I think I was just lucky.
Yeah, definitely. Before we go any further, I just want to introduce you to Matt Barron there, our paranormal consultant. Matt, that's Chris Conway from Most Haunted in the UK.
Pleasure to meet
you,
Matt.
Chris. Pleased to meet you.
You're doing well.
So Matt's quite big in the paranormal world in America, so...
Fantastic.
Who have you been talking to?
Matt, is your question now.
Well, actually, Chris, I just want to say I caught part of the story, but I find it really, really great that your family supported you like that. And it's really cool because a lot of times when we investigate, some people forget to talk to the kids that are in the homes. And you ask about the imaginary friends and stuff like that. So that's really cool. So I don't know where we're at, so I'm just gonna wing it. But I didn't get the script, so no. But so I hear you're on Most Haunted. So how did that begin? How did that career start for you?
It came about. I was on the local news about. I was doing an event. It was from what I can remember, it was a charity event. And the news guys wanted to make a feature of it. So they were doing a bit like Most Haunted. They were walking us round, and apparently the director of Most Haunted had seen that. And I was then on his desk, and Living at the time wanted a few mediums to come in as guest mediums. So they asked me to come in for 3 shows. So I said, yeah, of course. I'd done 2 shows, and then they asked Living if it would be okay to not have guest mediums, but to have a resident medium again. So Living, they had watched the shows, they'd agreed that was okay. And I was then offered resident mediumship. So I kind of fell into it, if the truth be known.
That's awesome. You never know. You never know who's watching or listening in. That's awesome.
Exactly.
And it goes in your favor as well. But the one thing I was going to say to you, Chris, was the one I remember watching. I remember watching, all the ones, because at that time it was before Most Haunted actually sort of went off air for the sort of sabbatical they had. I know they're back on YouTube now, but
yeah.
There was one in particular, and I'm trying to remember where it was. It was it seemed to me it was like an old castle.
Mm-hmm.
And you and it started off at the start. You and Yvette went into a room. It might have been in the actual keep. Went into like an old room, and
mm-hmm.
I remember you said as you went in, you were like, but there's someone here, there's someone there, and if I can remember correctly, you may have got something thrown at you quite early on in that as well, and you were able to actually communicate with one on each side of the room or something like that, if I remember correctly.
I wonder if that's Inverary Jail, possibly, because I remember when we went to the jail, there was 2 different spirits sort of trying to get my attention. There was one who was a murderer. He committed murder. There was also a young girl or a lady, from what I can remember from that one. And when I was talking, there was like a chain beside the door, and we all heard this chain rattle, and there was nobody near it. one thing people do know about me that watch me, they know I don't BS. If there's nothing there, I'll say there's nothing there. But at this particular point, there was nobody near this chain, and it was behind the camera. So I was actually facing it, and it rattled right in front of my face. So that was quite a freaky moment, because
it does sound familiar, so it could have been that one.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I'm not known for getting scared, because I'm a big believer. If you communicate with the dead and you know who's there, it seems a bit strange that they say boo and you jump and run. It's like a human being saying boo to you. You're not going to run.
Yeah.
So hence why it wasn't very often I was scared. But sometimes I got freaked out, and that was one of the times that I got freaked out.
Yeah. It's a fight or flight, and I'm swinging every time, but so actually, Chris, that actually leads me to a question that was actually brought to me a few days ago by one of our friends and brothers. So there's a couple theories out there, I'm sure you're aware of them, that spirits see people very differently than what we see people. Do you how do you think the spirits see me?
Sorry, Matt, the line is really bad. I can't hear what you're saying.
You guys hear me all right?
I can hear you.
You can hear me?
I don't know if it's because I'm on a phone, because my camera wouldn't connect.
Oh.
So I had to resort to the phone. I don't know if maybe it's the setup.
StreamYard is a little finicky when it comes to mobile devices. I don't know why. But so there's a theory out there that, Chris, that spirits see us differently than how we see them and we interpret them. And there was a question brought up about people who have gifts and abilities like medium, sensitive, and stuff like that. What is your take on that? Do you think spirits see the mediums differently, okay? He's out.
I'll bring him back in.
I scared him. How are you been, brother? I haven't spoken with you in a minute. You all right?
No, not too bad. Not too bad.
I agree with Raven there. You guys need to stop giving me links. Oh man. And
we've got George Alexander, we've got J.D. Hill, we've got Raymond Newsom, we've got the one and only New Zealander, Johnny, who's still drunk from last night, by the way.
Lucky.
She'll not appreciate me saying that.
Lucky. That'll be me later. We don't mind sure.
And Anthony, he'll be back in again because he's just having connection problems. So bear with us.
I agree. I agree with Anthony there. What's Matt? I don't know. What is Matt? What is
Matt is a lifesaver. That's what Matt is.
Test results are still pending.
Here we go.
Guys, I got picked out.
No, honestly, it's all right. It's a bad line, so it's fine.
Can you guys okay?
Sorry?
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, it's a bit jumpy, but we can hear you. So
yeah, I don't know what's happening. I think spirits are playing games.
Sometimes it's like this.
It's not a paranormal podcast without any tech problems.
Sorry, what was the question? Sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine, Chris. You're fine. So there's, I don't know if you've heard of these, but there are theories out there in the field that spirits see us differently than how obviously we see them. But that also includes mediums, sensitives, people with gifts and abilities. Do you feel that is legit? Do you think the spirits are seeing people with gifts and abilities like beacons with the lights? Do you think energy signatures have anything to play with that, or what's your thought?
Okay, if I picked a question up properly from a really, really, really bad line, are you asking if spirits see us different from how we see them?
Yes.
Is that the question?
That and people with gifts and abilities.
Right. Okay. I think it's every spirit is very different from each other. So it's just like on this plane, and some spirit don't even know they've passed on. like, for example, I was doing a paranormal investigation at the weekend there, just in Nottinghamshire, and we were communicating with 4 men, and with these 4 men, they had been plotting something. So they were very secretive, but the thing with them was they got killed when they were trying to do the mission that they were plotting, and the death was so quick they didn't actually realise that they were dead. So what was happening was, when we were doing a Ouija board with them, and they were actually telling me, when I was communicating with them, that they were communicating with the dead. So they were convinced that we were dead, whilst we were talking to them as if they were dead. So it was quite a strange thing. But most spirit that I do come into contact with, they do see people with a gift different, because it's almost like a telephone box. I think they draw upon our energy, because I'm a great believer of talking about energy rather than talking about spirit.
Yeah.
Because I'm a great believer that's what links us. It's not so much that I'm sitting talking to someone's granny. It's that I'm communicating with the energy that grandmother once had. So the reason that I can communicate with her is because I can use my energy to connect to her energy, and between that we can then focus on proceeding with some sort of conversation, very much like a telephone. So I think spirit, it's like a beacon, because they can obviously feel our energy as well. So they can sense that when someone's energy can connect to theirs, and allow them, aware that they're there, and allow them to be able to communicate with me. So hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, that definitely works.
Yeah. So what I'm gonna do as well, Chris, if it's all right with you. I mean, I know you told me that you don't do many podcasts, but obviously we'll do the show now. But because the connection is not great, I'll also invite you back on another time as well, if you want to come back on again at some point.
Of course.
And then obviously, because AJ will be on as well. I just need to say that AJ hasn't been well, and he's had to go to the hospital for something. I'm not sure. He hasn't been well, so obviously I want him to be on as well, because he has a few questions and stuff. So I appreciate.
That's absolutely fine with me, Robin. If we'll get in touch and we'll arrange another date, and then we can do this properly. I'll make sure that I'm on my computer, so we'll have a proper connection, proper sound, rather than all speaking like Daleks out of Doctor Who to each other.
Well, Matt's like that all the time anyway, so.
You're not wrong.
You beat me to it. I was going to say that's usually my voice.
Well, hopefully, AJ, if you're watching this, brother, much love to you, and hope for a speedy recovery, brother.
Yeah.
Seriously.
But we'll get that organised, guys. That sounds fantastic.
Yeah. Massive solar flares the next 2 days. Oh.
I heard about that.
I hadn't, so that's the first I've heard about it.
Yeah, there's a bunch of.
That could be interesting energy wise.
It could be. So do you still do the medium work?
Yes. I do. Oh, sorry, I dropped off again there. I do still do my mediumship. I've stepped back from Most Haunted a while back. But I do still do mediumship, person to person readings. I also do a lot of ghost hunts, paranormal investigations, which I absolutely love, because it means that I can get personal contact with fans of the paranormal shows, which I absolutely enjoy, because you get so much enjoyment sort of interacting with these guys and feeding off their energy as they feed off mine, and we have some really good nights.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Actually, that's not a bad thing. That could be why the reception is on and off.
Very possible.
Good point. The flares. I think you could be right.
Very
See,
possible.
not just a pretty face. Anyway, I did have another question, and it's just gone. Matt, you go, and I'll get this question back. It's just completely gone.
Fair. So Chris, one of the questions I always like to ask on my shows is, what's one of your most memorable locations? What's one that just really sticks out, and why?
TV wise, I would say probably there's a couple but there was one which was I'm pretty sure it was called Barclay Castle.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason it sticks out, nothing to do with being absolutely terrified or anything like that. It was the spirit connection that I had got. The guy was a bit of a joker. Anybody that knows me, I'm a bit of a joker myself. I like a good laugh. I'm always cracking jokes and taking the pee out of people. It's what I do. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So and I think that's why I get such a good connection with this guy. And the weird thing was, he actually suddenly, everybody around a seance table got not just a fit of the giggles, but if anybody watches the show back, the tears were rolling down my face, the tears were rolling down Yvette's face, everybody's face. And what was happening was drawers were flying out of the table. And every time these drawers fell out, it went from people screaming to people laughing, and the more the drawers kicked out, the worse the laughter got. And at the end, nobody could talk. It was just the weirdest situation ever. And I think it was only something that it wasn't my second show and most haunted showing, but it was recorded, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So after the show, they says, this isn't the kind of spirit you usually bring through, is it? I don't think it's what we want every week. But that was probably one of the weirdest. And another one was Carlisle Castle, which is just on the border between Scotland and England. So there's a lot of history there with the battles and the wars going on.
Yeah,
And
against English. There was a lot of fighting in that way, wasn't there? Between
yes, loads of it. So when I went there, at first the spirit weren't really want to communicate with me because I had a Glasgow accent. I was from Scotland, and there was a bit of a hatred going on there. And because apparently the Scots had taken over the castle, and then they'd got the castle back. And I didn't think it was going to be a successful night, but it ended up, we got loads of activity. They did eventually communicate. And at one point, we were all standing, and I turned round, and Leslie Smith, the historian, was beside me. So I turned round, I was looking at her, I turned round to look somewhere else, and Leslie was across the room. And I quickly looked round, and she was still there. And this happened quite a few times to quite a few different people. And it was quite a freaky experience. And apparently this particular room in the castle was infamous for shapeshifters.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
it's
it was
really like cloning in a way, isn't it? Like the person's being cloned, and then they're.
Well, if you run into another consultant, run.
Right, I've got two questions for you, Chris.
okay.
The first one is this one. Do you have global premonitions? What have you seen, and do you know what they mean?
Global premonitions. It's something I don't dabble in, because for the simple reason, I think I'm not insulting anybody here, but I think it's too easy to fake. No matter what you predict, it's going to happen somewhere in the world. There's earthquakes every day, there's storms every day, there's floods every day. It's too easy to make yourself right. And
I think really what obviously, without actually, mentioning, saying that, there will be something, but do you actually have the premonitions, even though you don't want to say?
Yes, I do. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, if that was the question, yeah, I do. Okay. But it's something that I don't. As I say, I don't leave myself open to accusations of fakery. It's something I'm very guarded towards. I always have been. I don't like to tell things which are too easy for these wannabe parapsychologists to jump on their keyboards and start saying, well, I could say that it could be because of this or that. So the way that I work is I point it out myself. If I tell something, I say, I'm telling you this, but I'll be honest with you, it's quite easy for anybody to come up with it. And I'm not, but by that, I'm not saying every medium that does that or psychic that does that is faking. So please don't pick me up wrong in that. I'm not insulting anybody. It's just something that personally I don't like to do. But everybody works differently.
Yeah. And the other question I have from Anthony, great brother of ours, is what is your technique for the spirit board?
My technique is simple. I know there's so much about blessing and turning the glass so many ways. Other people will say drip candle wax on the back, and my technique is just open the thing up. It's open it up, speak to spirit, make sure you've got somebody that knows what they're doing there, a medium, who can control what's coming through. If you've got someone who's in control of the spirit energy, there's no need for all. Is it okay to say bullshit?
Yeah.
There's no need for all the dramatized bullshit. To me, it's there just to build up the atmosphere, which is cool, which is good. But I don't think it makes any difference, because I've heard people say it's evil, and I'll ask them, well, if it's evil, surely standing in a room asking spirit to do something is going to have the exact same reaction, because you're doing the exact same thing.
Do you know what? Just you saying that, and I don't mean to cut you off, but I've actually been told, and it's true when you think about it, when you do a spirit box session, right, like you use an app on your phone, an SB7, whatever you want to use, you're effectively doing a vocal Ouija board, really, aren't you?
Yeah,
really.
Of course, yeah. Yeah,
so, you know, even though I won't use the board myself, but I feel more in control when I'm doing a spirit box, because I actually feel that I'm letting through what I want to let through, whereas sometimes I feel that the board, sometimes it could be manipulated and something might slip through that you don't want. But in the other way, I do think that people are right when they say that a spirit box session is basically another way of doing it, but it's vocally rather than
It's
an electronic Ouija board. Let's face it, a Ouija board, the name Ouija comes from, it's a yes board. It's we, French for yes, and yes, again. And it's basically, when we strip all the razzmatazz away from it that Hollywood put onto it in the films in the 1980s, it's basically a communication tool. And before the Hollywood movies took over and had it as a centre of evil, most families in Victorian areas had a Ouija board to use to communicate with spirit that they had lost in various wars. And it was a party game. It was a parlour game. It wasn't this big evil thing that it's made out to be nowadays. And children had them. Adults had them. Everybody had them. It was just something, a gathering, and you would try and communicate to Great Uncle Albert.
Chris, I think you said it 100%, and I've said it before too. It's a tool. The spirit board is just a tool, and it's just like any other tool. You have to know how to use it properly. That's what it
exactly. As long as you've got someone there who understands how to control spirit, control the energy, and not allow anything negative to come through.
Absolutely.
So, sorry, not come through onto the board, but anything negative to then come from the boards into the room. It's then you're okay, because a medium can control that. They can allow the spirit to come forward. They can allow them to come into the room to communicate via the board. But if if they try to do anything sneaky or even evil or nasty, then a medium can really cut it off anytime they want. And I've done thousands of boards over God knows how many events, and I've never ever looked in the mirror of my car and seen Frankie from the castle beside me.
Darn it.
Because someone who's linked to a building, a historical building, they're there because they're connected to that building, or they're connected to something that happened at the building. They're not interested in coming home with us to watch Coronation Street. They want to be where they are. They're interested in communicating with us because it's a puzzle for them too. It's something that we're working on hand in hand with spirit. They're not interested in possessing anybody and taking and going home with them. They've been there hundreds of years. They don't want to.
That's good. I love that. Well, guys, I have to get going. I have my own show to get ready for. Nando, I'm looking at you. Nando and I are going to be doing a quick show for the Global Ghost Hunt here in a little bit, and then I got to get ready for my show this evening.
Not a problem, Matt. I appreciate you coming on.
Much love to you.
It was fantastic to meet you, Matt.
You as well.
Hopefully, we'll get to speak in the future.
Oh, absolutely. We'll be in touch.
Good, man.
Have a good night.
Have a great night.
See ya.
So,
lovely
Chris,
guy.
I've got two questions for you. He's a fantastic guy, Matt is. Honestly,
Nice energy.
Yeah, he'll help you out to no end. Honestly,
yeah, I can tell that he's got lovely energy.
Yeah. A couple of questions I want to ask you. The first one is if you can or if you want to answer. You know, I mean, it's no. But within a Ouija board, I mean, if I do a spirit box session on my investigation, and I have that safety net, if you want to call it, in that, where I feel that when me and my mother-in-law, who's in the chat actually, Chris Boyle, when we're on a location and I decide to do a spirit box, I feel fully in control, and so does she, as to, you know, who comes through. If I'm trying to speak to a female spirit and there's a male that's speaking over it, and I'd be like, right, sir, can you stand back and let the female speak? And you feel in control.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can answer this, is there any way with an actual physical, what do you call a physical Ouija board with a glass stuff, where you can actually control who comes through, or how do you control who comes through, and can you put them to the back?
Unfortunately, we can't control who comes through. They're going. It's like opening up your door and hoping somebody nice comes in. You don't know who's going to come off the street, through your door, and into your house. And that's, I won't lie, you're opening yourself up to that. And that's why I always say, do it with someone who has a gift. And I mean by a proper gift, not saying they've got a gift, but then things go wrong and trouble starts. With the spirit box, I don't think you're inviting them in as much, which I think is where your safety net is. Because you're listening for the voice to come through the airwaves and control, because electricity and sound waves is the closest form to spirit energy that there is. So that's why it's easy for them to communicate via that particular instrument. So I think you've got that safety net, because at no point are you inviting them in.
Yeah.
You're there listening for them and then communicating with them. With a Ouija board, you are inviting them in. There's no nice way to say that. But if you've got a medium there who's in control of the energy, you're safe. You're very, very, very safe.
Yeah. Are you still based in Scotland, or are you based in England now?
No, I'm based in Scotland. I love Scotland too. I would never ever move away from Scotland. I love the country too much.
That's what it
But
is. I'm not far from Blackpool.
all right, okay, yes, I know it very well.
Now, there used to be, I don't know if you ever heard of it or not, but I'm going to give this as an example because this is a question, again, that my mother-in-law in the chat has always asked me. And I've tried because I do have the gift, but I'm not as advanced as a lot of people are. But I've tried to answer the question, really, and as much as I can. But out towards the M6, there's a place, it was out the back of Blackpool, it was called Whittingham. Have you ever heard of it?
I haven't, no, but I do. I drive past that way very frequently.
Right. Well, do you know Garstang?
Yes.
Well, if you can pass Garstang, you're heading towards Preston, and if you turn left, I think it is, and you head as if you're heading away from the coast, there's a little village called Whittingham, and there used to be a massive old mental asylum there.
Okay.
Right, it was abandoned. It was lying empty for years and stuff like that, and people used to go and do ghost hunts and stuff. But they've flattened it a few years ago, and they're building houses on it. Now, the question that she always asked me, and I tried the answer, was the spirits that were in that asylum, they're basically then going to be the spirits in them new houses, because as far as they're concerned, they're still going to be living there like it was the asylum. Is that the way you find it goes?
Spot on. 100% spot on. That's
so
why
they're not going to go with it. Sure, they're not.
No, they're not. They're not going to leave. No, they're unless they're helped across, they're not going to leave. They're there. They're still seeing the scenery round about them, the building as their time. They're not seeing it as an old rundown house or building or mansion or castle. So when that building is taken away, they're still connected to that land.
Yeah,
so
they become attached to the land, basically, then, don't they?
Of course they do, yeah. And that's what, even in investigations that I do, there's most of the time I'll be bringing through a spirit that are connected to the building. And I would say 9 times out of 10, then spirit will start to come through and say, oh, well, I was actually here and it was a farm, or I was here and there was a tree here and I used to do this. And so they're still there, they're still connected. And so it's the exact same way. When that building's gone, those spirits are still going to be around.
So then people who are moving into these brand new houses thinking they're brand spanking new are going to have a brand new haunted house.
They are, yeah. They don't realise they've got a lodger.
I need to buy one of these, I really do.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, if you're down this way quite often, like I say, you've got me on Facebook. Hit me up sometime. We'll try and organise something, because
it sounds a plan. It sounds a plan. Yeah, most of my events are in England, even though I'm based in Scotland. And the only reason for that is I don't know why this is, but I feel, and you'll probably understand yourself, but I feel that round about your Nottingham and Derby and these kind of areas, they're all big ghost hunters.
Yeah.
And then when you sort of move away from the Midlands, etc., I personally find that you've not got the same passion as the people there have. It just seems to be the epicenter of the ghost hunting world.
It does, yeah.
And that's why I tend to not base myself, but doing most of my events down there, because it's and of the guests, because they're there, they've done it so many times that they're coming with a good attitude. I'm a big believer when I'm doing a ghost hunt. I like to make people laugh. I'm from Glasgow. It's what we do, and you're Irish, so you're the same. It's what we do. It just comes natural to us, and I'm a big believer of doing that on a ghost hunt, because people, I'm not being disrespectful to spirit or to any of you guys, but I'm going to take the piss out of you, because it builds up the energy. As soon as you start laughing, as soon as something's going on, you'll hear something behind you. And that's it's almost as if spirit, they're using that energy, but at the same time, they're thinking, hold on a minute, you guys are here to see me, so I'm going to show you that, and they'll do something, and then bang, it's all started again. Whereas
Yeah.
without laughter, that energy's gone, and it's replaced by boredom in my experience, because you get tired, you hit the wall that we all know about, you hit that wall, and if you've not got a mechanism to boost your way through that wall, you're just going to give up, and that's when it gets quiet.
Yeah, yeah. We did a few up there actually. We did the Edinburgh Vaults.
Yeah, done them loads of times. Yeah,
and we also did the Mary King's Close.
Yeah, done that a couple of times. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the Edinburgh Vaults, we did it. We were on a tour of them, and they took us into the what they call the first room, like a big room, and the guy was obviously he was all dressed up in his old clothes, and he was giving us this whole talk about what it was and stuff. And I remember because I had my mother-in-law and my partner. She passed away in January, but she was with me as well. And
sorry to hear that.
That's okay. It's okay. And we were there along with the rest of the people. And I turned to the guy was talking, everybody's listening to him, and I happened to turn. There was a gap in the people, and I looked over into the corner of the room, the dark corner, and there was a guy standing there, and he had like a cloak on and nearly like a top hat on, and he was just standing in the corner watching all of us. And the guy who was actually this was a spirit guy, by the way.
Yeah, is that Mr. Boots?
Who was doing the tour? He says this room was renowned for a guy called, they call him the Watcher.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, that's exactly who that is I'm looking at now. And I was nudging them to him, going, look over there, look. And they're like, where? And I'm like, one of the frustrating things that we have in this job. You know what I mean? Where you're saying, look at that, and people are going,
that's right. And yeah, they look at you as if you're crazy.
But this guy, he was clear as day to me. He was just standing there, and he was just watching us. It's an ice cold stare in his face. He didn't move, he didn't blink, he just stood watching. And then when he says, there's a watchman in here, and I was like, that's exactly who that is.
I know exactly who you're talking about. I'm assuming that because there's two sets of vaults. You've got Mary King's Close, and then when you go down, it's a while since I've been up, and I've not got a good memory, but there's Blair Street Vaults, which is like, it looks like a wine cellar, an old wine cellar, and caves. So you're walking through all these caves, and then that's Mr. Boots, I think they call him.
The name does sound familiar now you say that, but this guy was saying that people, it must be a nickname for him. The Watcher.
They call him the Watcher. That's right. Yeah. But I'll be honest though, I'm the kind of person that I've got a terrible memory, so I make stuff up as I go along. So Mr. Boots probably isn't the name. I convince myself that I'm right, and I'm always wrong.
I'm sure that rings a bell from something that does.
Yeah, I've got a terrible memory. But it's definitely the Watcher, you're right. He sits watching you, stands watching you, and I know exactly what room you're talking about, and I have seen him myself. He's quite a menacing figure.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing about it is that I don't like is it was a tour, so it was like, you got a little talk with them, and then you had to move on. You get a little talk, and you have to. I like having my own time. You know what I mean? This guy's over in the corner watching me. I want to stand and communicate with him. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But it's like you're being ushered on. Next room, next room.
I've never done a tour. I actually had hired the vaults out, so I did it overnight. Quite a few times. In fact, we used to do. It was the dog charity. I can't. That Gwen Akora is. I think Gwen's is she the president of it, or I can't remember. But I did it as a favour to Gwen. I went and did the ghost hunt for her, and then that was for the charity to raise them money for the poor wee dogs. And then I've done a few different ghost hunts there as well after that. So I can imagine what the tours would be like, because it's numbers, isn't it? They just want you in and out, so they can get the next paying customers through. Exactly.
But there is one place I'd love you to go to at some point, and tell me what you think. And it doesn't cost anything.
Okay.
It's just outside Glenrothes.
Okay.
It's called Thornton Fever Hospital. Have you heard of it?
I haven't, no.
Right. It's just I can't remember exactly where it is, but I think it's on Google Maps. It's when we were up there, we were looking for places to do, and I found this one. And when we pulled up, it was like there was wire fencing all around it, but there was gaps in it. We just stepped through.
Yeah.
And there was one sort of building. It would have reminded you of like an old pub and restaurant, and then behind it there was all these long like buildings, big corridors and stuff. And you could tell it had been a hospital at one point. And it was just really, you walked in. There was one of the rooms. It was just like one single wheelchair sitting in the middle of it. It was really, really creepy.
Wow.
This was quite early on in my journey, so at that time I wasn't sort of the kind of one that would be like, right, I'm not moving from this room till I get something.
Yeah.
It was like, right, this is creepy. A couple of photographs, quick video.
Let's go.
But it's abandoned. It doesn't cost it. It's just lying. When I was there, it was just lying wide open.
Oh, you need to send me the details for that. That sounds a really interesting place.
Yeah, it's a little town called Thornton. It's just outside Glenrothes. I'll try and find a pin for you.
Yeah,
I'm sure
please.
I have it somewhere.
Yeah, please. That sounds an interesting place.
Yeah,
it reminds me of, I don't know if you've ever done Newsham in Liverpool.
Yeah. Yes.
Have you done there? That's a fantastic place. It sounds like that. Like, obviously not as big as Newsham, because Newsham is huge. But it does remind me of, it sounds very much like that. And Newsham's one of my favourite venues to do. It's such a...
If you're ever doing Newsham again, give me a shout and I'll come down and go around with you, because we went once to Newsham with a company. I'm not going to mention their name, but that they were useless, absolutely useless. We booked it for the three of us again, and it was the last three places left, and it was the night before it. We booked it online. We turned up, and they were standing outside with a manifest letting people in, and they were like, "Your names aren't on the list. You can't come in."
You're joking?
And we were like, yeah, and we were like, "No, we booked it last night," and we had to actually show them the online receipt that we had, so that they would let us in. Now they let us in, and the crowd, we were all sort of sitting there in these chairs. They were giving this talk before the start of it, and they asked, had anybody there any spiritual medium qualities, anything like that? And my mother-in-law's sitting with me going, "Put your hand up," and I'm like, "No, not yet, just leave it, just leave it." Nobody was saying anything, and then all of a sudden they were like, "He is," pointing to me, and they were like,
"Good for them."
Yeah, the thing is, they were like, "All right, okay," and then that was it. Now we went downstairs first to the corridor where all the little workrooms were. You know what I'm on about?
Yeah, I know exactly where you are.
We were standing there at the bottom of the stairs beside the toilets, and we were split into a couple of groups, but our group was standing there, and it was complete pitch black, and they had one of these glow ball things they had on the floor, and they were trying to get spirit to move it. And as we're standing there, and the guy was asking for it to move and stuff like this, out of the corner of my eye, I seen something move, and I turned, and this figure, and it was a lady. It was they call them a sister, didn't they? It was a nurse.
Yes.
They call them a sister. She had come in, and she'd walked down the corridor and walked into the toilet. And I was like, I said, "Excuse me." I was like, someone needs to, there's a spirit's just walked into that toilet there. Am I to go in? And they were like, "Yeah, you carry on." Anyway, and I was like,
"You're joking?"
I just told you there's someone walked in there, and you're more interested in getting this ball to move. I
think, that's one of the reasons I started doing. I run my own events now, and it was one of the reasons, to be honest with you, Robin, because I was getting hired in by some companies, and you're at their hands. It's And I don't like. I'm a big believer, I feel you are yourself, the way you're speaking there, that when I do an event, I like to do a walkabout at the start, the way the guys see on TV, let them see what's around. And after that, the guests are the kings and queens. It's up to, the experience is for them. They're not here to watch somebody else do it. I think it's so much more a buzz for someone if we ask, is anybody getting any names or anything, or any images after we've told them what's there? And then if somebody says, well, actually, I'm getting the name Lisa, and then somebody else, you can see their face and they're thinking, oh, I was actually getting Lisa. And it's such a buzz for them, because they've then got that experience that they can go home, they get the what's the word I'm looking for? They're hooked. They want to do it again. They don't want to sit and watch everybody. Look how clever I am. I'm going to show you this is what to do. Oh, I've just seen someone. No. You'll see someone when I tell you that's what's going to happen. Yeah, it's not like that. It's an investigation.
Exactly, and they get the bug when they're with like you and stuff like that. It's enticing people to, come on investigation, but don't make this your only one. Do a few of them, sort of compare what you get, and
of course. I mean, the ones that come on to my investigation, I'm lucky because they're fantastic people. They tend to go in quite a lot of the same with me, and there's no disruptive guests, there's no anything, because they know when they get there, it's their night. I'm there and the team are there to help them get an experience. We're there just to give them our experience, give them our knowledge, but let them tap into that knowledge and get their experience. And that to me, it's what it should be about. It's you. I would be bored watching somebody else do stuff, because I would be thinking, I don't actually give a shit, mate, whether your palm moves or not.
I actually, that night we were talking about, I actually could have went home early because it was that bad. Now, you're going to know where I'm talking about when I say this, the naughty boys corridor.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, I do.
They were telling us about the one little boy that had been locked in one of the rooms by the Polish guy. And he'd been locked in there too long and he died.
Okay.
Right. I take it you've heard that story.
Yes.
Right. So our little group were up there. Bear in mind, this guy had a manifest with everybody's name, vocation, everything on it, apart from ours. So he didn't know anything about us, right?
Yeah.
So he was like, this little door here, this little room is the one where the boy was locked in and he died. He was locked in here too long. We're looking for someone if they want to go in here on their own and be locked in this room.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody just stood there and I went, I'll go. And he was like,
let me at it.
He was like, anybody. And I'm like, I'll go. Anybody, anyone at all? Anyone? Oh, right, okay, then you go. Right?
You're joking?
Yeah, so then I goes in. He says, I'm going to lock it. I says, crack on, lock the door, turn the light on. Whatever you want to do, I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? I don't go for it, you know what I mean?
A man after one heart.
Yeah. He closed the door. 10 minutes later, I'm sitting there and I'm listening to him outside the door and I'm thinking, they're not even asking for anything to happen to me. You know what I mean? I'm waiting on the, go into that room and whack him over the head with something. I'm sitting there
that's right, yeah.
Oh, do your best job. You know what I mean?
Touch him in a particular place.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's like, nothing at all. So then I sort of knocked the door and he opened it and I was like, will it come out now? Yeah, okay.
Hello.
So I comes back out and we're standing again in the circle in this corridor. And he said, I don't know, you probably know this one as well. He says, the door at the very bottom, sometimes, and there's no wind or draft, tends to bang.
Yeah.
He says, what I want to do is, I want someone to go down there. and I want them to sit on the floor against the door with it shut. He says, and then if we try and get the door to bang, the person that's sitting will feel it going like that, and you'll know there's nobody there. Anyone want to go? And I'm like, I'll go. Anyone at all. Honestly, same again.
Wow.
Then he said to me, right, fair enough, you go down then. I went down the bottom of the corridor, sat down, didn't even ask for the door to move.
Bloody hell, what's the point?
Because he couldn't read me. He read the
I was just about to say that. Yeah, I was just going to say that. And he's wanting somebody that's jumpy.
Yeah, he did it in a Ouija board, you know, in the downstairs kitchen.
Yes.
He was trying to call that the morgue.
All right.
And he was like, we'll do a Ouija board in here because it was the morgue, right? Fair enough. Just crack on and do it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's like, you know, he was saying, right, I'm getting it through here about someone who has a military background. And one of the guys was like, yeah, I'm in the army. And it's like, but with the details that you have, that you're reading out about people, you know that there's someone in the army. You know what I mean?
So were they asking, sorry to butt in, Robin, but were they asking people for their details?
I don't know what they were asking for because we didn't do it in time. Yeah. I don't honestly know. I'm not going to say yes, no, I'm not going to accuse anybody. All I can say from my point of view is that they seem to have a lot of information. It could be complete coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
But they are. Even my mother-in-law says it was a right farce. It was. Right. They seem to have, no matter what they said, someone in the group was like, yeah, that's me. You know what I mean? And it's like, you know, really what you're looking for as well, and you're probably the same as me, in that you're actually looking for someone that, or nobody to answer a certain question, and you think, right, well, okay, well, maybe I'm wrong, or maybe I'm not picking it up right, but that's definitely coming through anyway. And, you know,
of course.
Because you're going to have false positives. You know what I mean?
Of course. And to me, if I was a guest at a ghost hunt, I wouldn't want somebody's granny or something. I would want the people linked with this building coming through.
Yeah.
That's why you're there. You're there to investigate the building. Yeah. Because everybody else, apart from one person who's in the army, don't give a shit. They want to know who's connected with that building. Who are we investigating tonight? What's the backstories? We want to know. We want to know what to expect.
We came away that night thinking that it was a fantastic building. It was definitely haunted because of what we all experienced things in there.
Mm-hmm.
All three of us. It was definitely somewhere that we wanted to go back to again at some point, but we've just paid £69.99 per head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an expensive place
for a complete and utter, basically shit show.
Exactly. That's a shame. And
read that one. That's exactly it. It felt like they were all regulars with the team.
Right. So they knew them at the back of their hand. It's. See, I can see both sides. It's a tricky one for a medium because if you're very good, you've done homework, because no matter what somebody tells you, you can go and find it. Of course you can. We're in an electronic world now, and if you're not good, if you don't bring enough through, you're shite. It's
I agree.
It's a difficult one for actually bringing stuff through, but for a building, for an investigation, they're not there for a stage show. They're there for the spirits connected to that building. Because if you're just going to bring through, Charlie was in the army, and I think you were a nurse, and I think you was somebody a brickie, you might as well just stand in their living room. Because what's the point of going to these fantastic locations when you're not connecting with the ghosts that are at the locations? It seems a bit counterproductive. and it does. I'll be honest, it does seem very arranged by the sounds of it. It does seem. I'm obviously I don't know who the group are. I'll probably get attacked by them now, but
I'm not mentioning them, so you won't get attacked by them. I'll not mention them. I know.
I'm joking. I actually don't care. I'm not the kind of person that cares.
But I tell you what, honestly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this to an end shortly, and then obviously definitely get you back on again when AJ's on. But
definitely,
honestly, whenever you're down this way, anywhere at all, doing them, hit me up and let me know. We'll come along definitely.
Fantastic. I'll give you a wee message. I'll let you know the dates that I'm coming down, and we'll get something organised.
We'll go anywhere like that, and when it's with reputable people like yourself.
Yeah,
I mean that's it. It was like I say, it was really, really early in our journey. We hadn't done medical investigations at all, and it was like when the opportunity came up, it was like, well, let's go and see what we call at time professionals, or let's go and see what their investigating techniques are, and and it was like you sort of nearly came away from it thinking, if this is what it's about, what the hell am I even doing in this?
I was going to say I think, unfortunately, there's so many companies now that it's kind of diluted, and it's pot luck a lot of the time, unless you've been recommended by somebody. It's kind of pot luck what you're grabbing, because it's so easy to set a website up or a Facebook page up, or and buy a few gadgets. And unfortunately, I think people that go to a company that aren't as maybe experienced, then what can happen is it puts the people off, because they think, if that's what this is about, I'll watch it on telly, because that was boring. And I didn't pay all that money to watch somebody else do stuff. I didn't pay all that money to be herded about like some cattle.
Yeah. We're just in it for the money, we think. That's what we thought. We're just in it for...
Yeah, without a doubt. And it's one of the reasons I tend to try and stay away from the more, in inverted commas, popular
rinsed ones
places, because of the fact that the price goes through the roof. And part of my ethos is I want to give people investigations, but they don't need to get a mortgage to get a bloody ticket. I like to keep my tickets, if possible, about $29.99. But every now and then I've got one coming up in August that's $39.99. But I don't like to go into it to make loads of money. It's not what I do it for. I do it because I love the people. I love meeting the people that go to these investigations. I love chatting to them and hearing the experiences and what their thoughts of different things are. And that's what I get out of it. And I think, as you say, a lot of companies, because I see the prices myself, and I think, how the hell could people afford that? 4 people going to a ghost hunt, you're talking £200 odd sometimes. Yeah. And I'm thinking, if you're a regular ghost hunter, how the hell can you justify having to pay that? And I think it needs reset a little bit. The full ghost hunting industry, get back to basics. Get back to just doing it for the reason we do it. Do it because we watched it on TV as a kid, or you watched cartoons as a kid that entailed it, and you're there just for the experience. You're there hoping to get scared. You're there hoping to hear a noise, feel a touch. It's, to me, that's what gets you hooked. One little touch could seem like nothing standing about all night, but it's that little touch, because well, hold on a minute, this team haven't bullshitted. They've not went into every single room and they've been getting thrown off walls and bricks have been thrown, and they've actually stood there. They've called out, they've called out, they've called out. They've tried a board, the board's not moved. They've tried table tipping, and everybody gets nights like that. But what happens is when they do get something happening, they're buzzing because they know they're leaving that night with 100% or 99% certainty it's not been manufactured by somebody wanting to make a name for themselves. And I'm a big believer in that. I think we need to go back to that. We need to go back to looking for the small things, not looking to see what happens, the kind of things you see on TV, because what people don't realise is a ghost hunting show, if there's adverts on that channel, is 45 minutes. Take away the adverts, you've got 45 minutes. You've got the build up to the venue where they're talking to the historian, the medium, blah, 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 blah. So there's very little for the actual investigation, but that investigation's been filmed overnight. So what's happening is the exciting bits are getting picked out. So when you watch it on TV, it seems as if, oh, look at they get everything happens. But what they don't see is that they're standing about a lot of the time waiting for something to happen. But obviously that's not going to make TV because people will be bored. So I think it's just people understanding that, and I think people, once they do understand it and they start to really go regular, they start to see it as what it is, an investigation. It's not so much a scare factor. It's an investigation. It's that buzz that you get. And don't get me wrong, you do want a fright. You do want to be scared, but you want to be scared knowing that, bloody hell, what was that? And wake up in the morning and think, I still have no idea what that was. I want that to happen again. And to me, that we need to get back to that. We really do. We need to forget.
You know what it's like as well, though, is, you know, I agree with what you said 100% about the money situation. You know, you don't want to be paying 50, 60, 70 pound a head when you're going and doing these. But the thing is, if you do pay that and you get a shitload of activity, you'll come out of that thinking, right, well, it was expensive, but
it was worth it.
I've just justified that by what I've actually got. But then if you go in there and pay 70, 80 pound a head, and it was a complete farce like we were on, you're just thinking to yourself,
you feel cheated. Yeah, you feel cheated. And that's the problem, because it's a catch-22. And that's why I don't blame the big companies for when it's a big venue, because these venues charge a lot of money. They're like £1,000, £2,000, £3,000 higher fee. So they're trying to, the companies then need to try and get that back, and it's a really fine juggling act to try and make that work. And that's why I tend to look for hidden gems that haven't been discovered. They've not been over investigated. People are paying what I'm paying to hire the venue, which I agree with the owners, and everybody's having. We're not having every single night's exciting, but we're all having a good time. It's whether it's because I've laughed my socks off, or I was scared stiff, or it's a different experience every time. We just don't know what's going to happen, what to expect, and that's what it should be. It really should.
Absolutely. Well, Chris, I want to thank you very much for coming on.
It's been my pleasure. I've really enjoyed chatting.
We did try once before, and there was something come up, but like I say, even through the technical difficulties that we had this time, we've still managed to pull the show off. So
yes, I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I'll stay in touch with you. I'll get you back on again whenever about. And like I say, whenever you're down this way at all for any kind of a ghost hunt, hit me up. We'll definitely come down.
Without a doubt, I shall do that, Robin. I'll give you a wee message either tonight or tomorrow, and I'll let you know the dates that I'm coming down, and we'll get something organised.
No problem at all. I appreciate that. and we'll do our best, obviously, to come along and.
Perfect. Sounds a plan, and I'll definitely come back on. I've really enjoyed it, and
Yeah,
we'll do it without any glitches, without me holding a phone like that.
Before you go, do you want to shout out any of your anything that you have, any websites or anything like that you have?
I don't really do a website anymore. I tend to communicate with people over my Facebook, because it's more personal. People, if they want to ask me something, they message me or they post on my wall, and that's where I advertise all my ghost hunts. That's where I chat to people and have a laugh with people. It tends to be through my Facebook. The next ghost hunt I've got coming up's in August. That's in at this moment. I'll probably book something before then, but it's in Derbyshire, and it's an old Edwardian school that I've managed to find, and it's a really big building, and there's a lot of sad episodes connected to the building. For example, it was a private school. The man that set it up, he passed away and passed the school on to his son. One day, his son left the building, as he did every day, and that was in the I think it was the early 1900s, I'm sure, but I could be wrong. And he was never seen again. Nobody knows what happened to him. He just left the building, never came back. And there's lots of tragic stories like that linked to this building. And it's well known for being haunted amongst the local village. So it's one that I'm really looking forward to. And if anybody's interested in that, just come and chat to me on Facebook. And
my mother-in-law just said, obviously, your Facebook's under your own name. It is, because that's where I found you anyway. So
yes,
it is.
Yes, it's under my own name.
So just friend request.
I don't know if I can write it on chat. I think it's just Chris Conway. It's under.
Yeah, so just friend request me and I'll add you. What I'm going to do as well, Chris, either tonight or tomorrow, is I'm going to send you the names of a few places that I've found around sort of Lancashire, and there's even one in Lincolnshire and stuff like that.
Oh, I really appreciate that.
And then obviously you can sort of, maybe, I don't know whether you'd be able to put the feelers out for them or not, but
without a doubt, I'd really appreciate that, Robin. That'd be fantastic.
Will do. But like I say, I will stay in touch with you anyway.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. And we will have you on again.
I look forward to it.
I think we're booked up until probably the end of May, so maybe June, if that's all right.
Yeah, June's perfect for me.
Yeah, no problem at all.
Me. We'll get that organised.
We'll see you again in June, but I'll be in touch anyway. I'll stay in touch with you.
Yeah, please do. Fantastic. Thanks very much, Robin.
Thanks, Chris.
Take care, guys. Bye.
Bye. Well, there you go. Lovely guy. I've been friends with him for quite a bit now on Facebook, and he's a really good guy. So do look him up and do try some of his ghost hunts out. You'll not be disappointed. Definitely not. Just want to shout out, Global Ghost Hunt is starting in May. We've got the first one in May coming up, and then there's one in October. globalghosthunt.com. Check it out. Check the website out. Honestly, it's going to be fantastic. But for now, from little old lonely me, Robin from Haffern Paranormal and Talking with the Source, it's goodbye, and we will see you again tomorrow evening. We have Heather Madison from Kindred Spirits, and anyway, if you're gonna watch, just Google her. She's been on a few different TV programs, so she's on tomorrow night. It's a special show, so we will see you then. Bye for now.